I never meant to eavesdrop that night. Funny how life's biggest moments sometimes start with something as simple as forgetting your phone charger in someone else's house. My name is Cameron, Cam to pretty much everyone except my mother, and I was just about to knock on Ethan's office door when I heard him laugh. Not his usual warm chuckle, but something colder, unfamiliar. Of course she doesn't suspect anything, he was saying. Look, Ryan, your old man knows what he's doing. She's just a temporary solution until we can access her inheritance. My hand froze mid-knock. The leather of my purse suddenly felt sticky against my palm as I stood there, heart pounding in my chest. No, son, trust me, she's perfect for this. Recently unemployed, desperate for stability. And she absolutely adores Lucas. That's the key right there. I pressed my back against the wall, trying to steady my breathing. 3 months of dating, of falling for his devoted single dad act, of building a relationship with his young son Lucas, all of it crystallized into something ugly in that moment. We'll have to move carefully though, Ethan continued. Helen, that's her mother. She's sharper than I'd like. Been asking too many questions about my investment firm. My mother's instincts had been right all along. There's something off about that man, she'd said last Sunday over coffee. I dismissed her concerns as overprotective paranoia. The sound of Ethan's chair scraping against the floor snapped me back to reality. I quickly moved away from the door, my legs carrying me down the hallway on autopilot. As I reached the stairs, I heard his office door open. Cam, is that you up there? I forced myself to stop, to turn around with what I hoped was a normal smile. Hey, just came back for my charger. My voice sounded strange to my own ears, but Ethan didn't seem to notice. Found it. I held up the cord I'd deliberately left behind earlier, trying to keep my hand from shaking. Lucas asleep? Out like a light, Ethan replied, his practiced smile not quite reaching his eyes. You sure you can't stay longer? Early meeting tomorrow, I lied, already backing toward the front door. I'll call you tomorrow? As I drove home, my mind raced with questions. Who exactly was Ethan Grayson? And more importantly, what was I going to do about it? One thing was certain, I wasn't going to be anyone's temporary solution. The next morning, I found myself parked outside Ethan's house, watching Lucas board his school bus. I hadn't slept all night, torn between exposing Ethan immediately and protecting the relationship I'd built with his youngest son. Have a great day at school, buddy. I called out, forcing cheerfulness into my voice. Lucas turned, his face lighting up when he saw me. Cam, are you coming to my science fair next week? He rushed over, backpack bouncing. I built a volcano that actually erupts. My chest tightened. Wouldn't miss it for anything. Mom helped me with my first volcano, Lucas said quietly, picking at the strap of his backpack. Before she got sick. The bus driver honked, and Lucas hurried off, leaving me with a knot in my stomach. I'd known getting involved with a widower and his young son would be complicated, but I hadn't expected to care this much, or to be played for a fool. Inside, Ethan was making coffee, looking perfectly put together in his expensive suit. This is a nice surprise, he said, leaning in for a kiss. I turned my head slightly, letting it land on my cheek. Just wanted to see Lucas off, I said, watching his reaction carefully. He mentioned his mother this morning. Something flickered across Ethan's face. Not grief, but calculation. Poor kid still struggles with it. That's why I'm grateful he's bonded with you. He touched my arm. We both are. The coffee maker beeped, and I used the moment to step away. Speaking of bonding, I ran into your son Ryan at the grocery store yesterday. Ethan's hand paused mid-reach for a mug. Oh. Yeah, funny thing, he seemed surprised when I mentioned helping Lucas with his science project. Said something about you having other arrangements. Ryan's not really involved in Lucas's day-to-day life, Ethan replied smoothly. He probably meant the babysitter. Liar. I'd heard him plotting with Ryan just last night. But I smiled, playing along. Must be. Oh, by the way, my mother's asking about investing with your firm. Helen. His voice sharpened slightly. I thought she was skeptical about financial planning. People change, I said, meeting his gaze. Sometimes they surprise you. The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. We were both playing parts now, and I wondered which of us would break first. I should get to work, Ethan said finally. Dinner tonight? Can't. Helping Lucas with his volcano, remember? As I left, I caught a glimpse of Ethan's reflection in the hallway mirror. The mask had slipped, just for a moment, revealing something cold and calculating beneath. Game on, Ethan Grayson. I never expected to find anything in Ethan's home office. I was just dropping off Lucas's science project materials when I noticed the investment portfolio sitting open on his desk. Something about the numbers caught my eye. They didn't add up. My hands trembled as I flipped through the pages. Client names, account numbers, and transfer records all pointed to one thing. Ethan wasn't just planning to con me. He'd done this before. "What are you doing in here?" I spun around to find Ryan standing in the doorway, his expression unreadable. "Lucas forgot his volcano supplies," I said, gesturing to the bag I'd dropped. The door was open. "And the financial records just happened to interest you?" Ryan stepped closer, his father's calculating smile playing on his younger face. "Dad won't like that. Does your father know about Samantha Collins?" I watched his reaction carefully. "The woman he's planning to move in with once he's done with me?" Ryan's smile faltered for a split second. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Really?" "Because I found this." I pulled out my phone, showing him the photo I'd taken of a letter I'd discovered minutes earlier, tucked between the portfolio pages. "Seems like your father's juggling quite a few relationships. Does Lucas know about any of this?" "Leave my brother out of this." Ryan's voice turned sharp. "You have no idea what you're getting into." "Actually, I do. These records show at least 3 other women your father has conned. How many of them had children, Ryan? How many families has he destroyed?" The silence stretched between us. Finally, Ryan spoke, his voice lower. "Dad's not the only one with secrets. Did you tell him about your trust fund yet? The one your father left you?" My stomach dropped. How did he know about that? I'd only just learned about it myself from my mother's lawyer. "Thought not." Ryan's smile returned. "Here's some free advice. Walk away now, before things get messy." "Is that a threat?" "Consider it a courtesy warning. For Lucas's sake." He gestured to the door. "You should go. Dad will be home soon." I grabbed Lucas's supplies and left, my mind racing. On my way out, I noticed a woman watching the house from a parked car across the street. Our eyes met briefly before she drove away. Something told me I'd just seen Samantha Collins. My phone buzzed with a text from Ethan. "Dinner tonight? Have something important to discuss." "I bet you do," I thought, remembering the ring box I'd spotted in his desk drawer. The trap was about to spring, but he didn't realize I'd already seen the teeth. "He's going to propose," I told Maya, pushing my untouched coffee across her kitchen table. And that's not even the worst part. Maya, who'd set me up with Ethan 3 months ago, looked like she might be sick. "I can't believe this. He seems so genuine." "That's his specialty." I pulled out my phone, showing her the photos I'd taken of Ethan's records. "Look at these names. Sarah Martinez, Rebecca Chin, Catherine Walsh, all single mothers or women with inheritances. All of them lost everything." "Oh God," Maya whispered, scrolling through the images. "And now he's targeting you and your trust fund. The trust fund he's not supposed to know about." I ran my fingers through my hair, fighting exhaustion. I hadn't slept properly in days. Only Ryan knew, which means someone's been digging into your background, Maya finished. Her face hardened. "This is my fault. I introduced you to him. You couldn't have known." But my reassurance was interrupted by my phone buzzing. A text from Lucas. "Dad's acting weird. Can you come over?" My heart clenched. "I have to go." "Cam, wait." Maya grabbed my arm. "What's your plan here? You can't just keep playing along." "I have to. For Lucas." I showed her the text. "Something's not right. And what happens when Ethan proposes? You can't say yes just to protect Lucas." Before I could answer, another text came through from an unknown number. "We need to talk about Ethan. Meet me at Riverside Park. Samantha." Maya read the message over my shoulder. "The girlfriend? Cam, this could be a trap. Or it could be the evidence I need." I grabbed my keys. "Cover for me if Ethan calls?" "Be careful," Maya warned. "And Cam? Remember what happened to Lucas's mother wasn't an accident." I froze halfway to the door. "What?" "I've been doing some digging too. The police report from his wife's death? It's sealed. And those other women you mentioned? One of them disappeared 6 months ago." My phone buzzed again. "Ethan, where are you?" Lucas is asking for you. Then Lucas, please hurry. And finally, Samantha, don't tell Ethan you're meeting me. Your life depends on it. I looked at Maya, seeing my own fear reflected in her eyes. Call my mother, I said. Tell her everything. If I'm not back in 2 hours. I left the sentence unfinished, stepping out into the rain. Whatever game Ethan was playing, the stakes had just become deadly clear. Samantha Collins never showed up at Riverside Park. Instead, I found a USB drive taped under a park bench with my name on it. By the time I got back to my car, Lucas had called 3 times. I found him sitting alone on his front porch, clutching his science project volcano. Dad forgot, he said quietly as I approached. He promised to take me to the fair, but he left with Ryan an hour ago. The volcano was crushed on one side, red paint smeared across the cardboard base. What happened? I dropped it when I heard them fighting. Lucas's voice trembled. Ryan said something about Mom, and Dad got really angry. I helped him up, noticing the way he flinched when I touched his arm. Lucas, did your father? He didn't mean to, Lucas cut in quickly. He was just upset about the papers Ryan found. What papers? Before Lucas could answer, a sleek black car pulled into the driveway. Ethan stepped out, his usual polished appearance slightly disheveled. Cameron? What are you doing here? Helping Lucas with his project. The one you were supposed to take him to present. Something dangerous flashed in Ethan's eyes. Lucas, go inside. But now. Lucas grabbed his volcano and ran inside. The moment the door closed, Ethan's charm vanished. You've been going through my office. And you've been lying about everything. I pulled out my phone, showing him the photos, including what happened to Lucas's mother. Careful, Cameron. He stepped closer, his voice dropping. You're making accusations you can't take back. Really? Because the USB drive Samantha left me might suggest otherwise. I was bluffing. I hadn't checked the drive yet, but Ethan's reaction told me everything. Samantha's not a reliable source, he said too quickly. She's unstable, desperate. Like the other women you destroyed? I cut in. Or just desperate like your wife was before her accident. The mask slipped completely. Ethan grabbed my arm, hard enough to bruise. You have no idea what you're dealing with. Let go of her. Lucas's voice rang out from the doorway. He stood there, tears streaming down his face, holding a stack of papers. I found Mom's letters, Dad. The real ones. She knew what you were doing. Ethan released me, turning toward his son. Lucas. But Lucas was already running to me, throwing his arms around my waist. Don't let him hurt anyone else, he whispered against my shirt. In that moment, looking at Ethan's face contort with rage, I made my decision. This wasn't about revenge anymore. It was about justice for Lucas, for his mother, and for all the others who couldn't fight back. It's over, Ethan, I said, holding Lucas close. And you're not going to win this time. The USB drive contained everything. Financial records, emails, and a video. Lucas's mother, pale and frightened, speaking directly to the camera. If anything happens to me, Ethan is responsible. I watched it 3 times in Maya's living room. Lucas asleep on the couch beside me. He'd refused to go home after the confrontation, and I couldn't blame him. We need to take this to the police, Maya said, but her voice wavered when my phone rang. Ryan's name flashed on the screen. Where's my brother? His voice was tight with panic. Safe. Unlike his mother was. Listen to me, Ryan cut in. Dad's gone crazy. He's talking about taking Lucas and disappearing. He knows about the video. My blood ran cold. How? Because I told him. Ryan's voice cracked. I've been helping him all along, but this is different. He's not thinking straight anymore. A crash echoed through the phone, followed by shouting. Ryan. The line went dead. We have to go, I told Maya, already gathering Lucas's things. Call the police. Tell them. The front door burst open. Ethan stood there, Ryan behind him with a split lip and wild eyes. I'll take my son now, Ethan said quietly. Too quietly. Lucas stirred on the couch. Dad. It's okay, buddy, I said, stepping between them. Everything's going to be fine. Always the hero, aren't you, Cameron? Ethan's smile was razor sharp. But you forgot something important. I still have proof of your father's embezzlement. The real reason for that trust fund you're so proud of. My chest tightened. You're lying. Am I? Why don't we ask your mother? Oh wait, she's currently being questioned by the FBI. He pulled out his phone, showing me a news article. My father's old company. A massive fraud investigation. That's what was on the other USB drive, Ryan said softly. The one you didn't find. I looked at Lucas, tears streaming down his face, then at Maya, her hand hovering over her phone. One call and this could all end. But at what cost? Here's what's going to happen, Ethan said, his calm facade cracking slightly. Lucas comes with me. You destroy the video. Or tomorrow morning, your mother faces federal charges. Don't, Lucas whispered. Please don't let him win. But Ethan was already moving forward. And I saw in his eyes what his wife must have seen that final night, the look of a man who would destroy anything to maintain control. I had seconds to decide, my mother's freedom or Lucas's safety. And no matter what I chose, someone I loved would pay the price. Delete it, Ethan demanded, reaching for my phone. But before he could grab it, Ryan stepped between us. No, Dad. This ends now. Ryan's voice shook, but he stood his ground. Tell her the truth about Mom. Ethan's mask slipped completely. You ungrateful. I found the insurance papers, Ryan cut in. The policy you took out on Cameron last month. Just like Mom's. The room went deadly quiet. Maya's hand tightened on her phone, and Lucas pressed closer to my side. You were never going to marry me, I said, the pieces finally clicking into place. You were going to kill me. Like he killed Mom, Lucas whispered. Ethan lunged forward, but Ryan caught him. They struggled, and something fell from Ethan's jacket, a syringe. The same way he killed her, Ryan said, his voice breaking. A fatal allergic reaction. Accidental exposure to penicillin. Just like he planned for you, Cameron. You have no proof, Ethan snarled, but his eyes were fixed on the syringe. My phone buzzed. A text from my mother. Got your message. FBI here. Samantha talking. Hold on. Actually, I said, we do. Samantha didn't leave that USB drive, did she, Ryan? Ryan shook his head. I did. After I found Mom's real autopsy report. Ethan's composure shattered. He shoved Ryan aside, reaching for Lucas. You're not taking my son. But Lucas darted away, grabbing something from his backpack, his mother's letters. You forgot something, Dad, he said, his young voice steady. Mom made copies. Of everything. Sirens wailed in the distance. Ethan's face contorted as he realized he was trapped. He turned to me, his charm returning like a desperate mask. Cameron, please. We can work this out. Your mother is fine, I cut in. The FBI investigation? It's into you, not my father. My mother's been working with them for weeks. The sirens grew louder. Maya opened the front door as police cars pulled up. You know what your mistake was? I asked Ethan as officers approached. You thought everyone was like you, willing to sacrifice family for money. But Ryan chose his brother. I chose Lucas. And your wife? She chose to protect her sons, even after death. As they led Ethan away, Lucas hugged me tight. Mom's letters said to be brave, he whispered. She said the truth always comes out. Ryan picked up the fallen syringe, hands trembling. I'm sorry it took me so long to be brave too. Through the window, I watched Ethan's carefully constructed world crumble. Sometimes revenge isn't about getting even. It's about protecting those who can't protect themselves. And sometimes justice comes in the form of a 10-year-old boy's courage to speak the truth. 6 months after Ethan's arrest, I watched Lucas present his new science project, a working model of the solar system. No volcanoes this time. His mother would have been proud. Ryan sat beside me in the school auditorium, looking more like the big brother he should have been all along. Dad's lawyer called again, he whispered, offering another deal. And I told them the truth is non-negotiable. He smiled slightly. Lucas taught me that. After the presentation, we celebrated at my new apartment. Maya brought cupcakes. My mother fussed over Lucas's tie, and Samantha, who'd finally found her courage to testify, stopped by briefly with a gift. Lucas's mother's old camera. Found it in storage, she said. She used to document everything. Maybe that's why Ethan. She didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. Later, while the others chatted in the living room, Lucas pulled me aside. I have something to show you, he said, leading me to his weekend bedroom in my apartment. From under his pillow, he retrieved a worn envelope. Mom's last letter, he explained. The one I never showed anyone. My hands trembled as I read. My dearest Lucas, sometimes being brave means letting go of the past to protect the future. Remember that family isn't just about blood. It's about who stays when things get hard. Be kind, be strong, and trust those who prove themselves worthy of your trust. All my love. Mom. Lucas watched me carefully. She would have liked you, he said. Because you stayed. I hugged him tight, thinking about how revenge had transformed into something else entirely, not just justice for his mother, but a chance to rebuild what Ethan had tried to destroy. Ryan joined us, holding up his phone. The FBI found 3 more victims, he said quietly. Dad's going away for a long time. Good, Lucas said firmly, then brightened. Can we get ice cream? As we rejoined the others, I caught my mother's knowing smile. She'd been right all along about Ethan, but she'd also been right about something else. Strength often comes from unexpected places. That night, after everyone left, I found one last surprise, a USB drive labeled for Cameron in Lucas's mother's handwriting. Ryan must have slipped it into my bag. I haven't watched it yet. Some truths need time, and some stories don't end with neat conclusions. But that's okay. Real families, the ones we choose and the ones who choose us, are built on more than just endings. They're built on new beginnings.